Mr. Jobe, I think the thing that brings us here is the fact that the clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, we understand his services have been terminated. Give us a sense of what is happening.
Thank you very much, Madam. The clerk was appointed in April last year, and his services, and according to the terms of the contract of employment, has a 1-year probation. And after the 1-year probation, you have to be evaluated and certified by your supervisor for you to be confirmed on the position to continue your job and to be a staff. However, in April of this year, his supervisor, who is the president of the Pan-African Parliament, told him that in his evaluation, he is not satisfied completely with the performance that he has been doing on the job, and that his contract would not be terminated, but he will be given a 6-month extension to enable him to improve on the performances, and the president was to highlight the areas of improvement he needed for him to be satisfied and confirmed as a staff. That means even this May, he should not have received salary because he is not confirmed and he did not sign and agree to the extension of his probation. According to the rules of employment, you are either confirmed or extended. By not refuting and sending the documents to the president to say, I don't agree, I am not going to accept this, terminate me, he kept the documents and the evaluation. And the Director of Bureau of the Pan-African Parliament is seated here with me to confirm that. So the president, after evaluating the circumstances in his own wisdom and in his own criteria, decided that if he is not even able to accept the extension to improve on his performance, then he might as well stop him because he is no longer accepting the authority of the supervisor, of the president of the Pan-African Parliament. I am not the person to justify whether his performance was good or not good, or whether the president had a right to say whether he is doing well or not. That's not my mandate because I was a deputy to him. His work is evaluated by his supervisor, but it is his supervisor who wrote that to him and told him that he is not happy and needed time to reassess him. So in those circumstances, it's either I accept and sign, and it was not only him, by the way. So to make the records and the facts straight, there was another deputy clerk in charge of legislative business. In PAP, there are 1 clerk and 2 deputy clerks. Myself, who is in charge of finance, admin, and human resource, and there's a deputy clerk in charge of legislative matters, legislative business and conferences. Also, that deputy clerk from Chad was given a probational extension of 6 months, so that the people understand that this was not targeted for the southern region or the western region or the whatever region. 2 deputy clerks from 2 different regions, 2 clerks, 1 clerk and a deputy, were told that their satisfaction, their performance needed further assessment. And it's only the president that can assess them. The plenary does not work with them. The committee does not assess them. They do work, in other words, but not directly, not every day, not reporting. The reporting lines, according to the Pan-African Parliament, according to the AU structure, the clerk is supervised by the president, who is the head of the organ. So if the president says that he needs more time, that's what he said. So this is what I can tell you on the situation, on where we were before the termination. Then we received a letter from the president saying that, and the letter I can read to you, stated at least, well, not to take too much of your time, stated among other things that you have not been performing at the level expected of a clerk of parliament, which has been raised by the bureau and MPs. You were appointed, even though you came out 3rd position in the ranking, but we gave you the chance because of the underrepresentation country. And however, the AU report on the investigation on that appointment, which we have a copy and you can read for yourself, stated that you do not meet the requirement, that the appointment was illegal, was not right according to the rules. You should not have been appointed. But the president not only fought to appoint this clerk, he went to plenary and defended the fact that he wants this guy to be given a chance and he has to be installed as a clerk to give him the probation to perform. With 37 MPs or more writing a petition to the AU that the clerk should not be given a chance because he's not competent. And that is on record with the AU and with us. So, there are other things that the president mentioned that I don't want to, there's no need. You have traveled out of the duty station without notifying me, according to the rules. As a clerk, you cannot leave the duty station without telling your supervisor. We don't leave the duty station without telling the clerk, so he should do the same to the president. Those things are all the president's views and statements. I am not validating them, I'm just stating what the president said. And that he has been holding media interviews, accusing the president of improprieties and tarnishing the organization's image without even defending the institution. And the president feels that as a clerk, the head of the institution administration that he has delegated to, if he cannot answer to things or queries, he should at least ask his subordinates to give him the information and documents to sustain and justify and correct the facts, just to state the facts. For example, give you an example. It is stated in the interviews that were happening on the radio recently with the clerk present in that interview that the president traveled 31 times during the campaign for election, paid for by Pan-African Parliament. Pan-African Parliament has a budget. Pan-African Parliament is audited by 4 auditors. We are one of the most audited institutions in the world. We have an internal audit team that is composed of people that every day I'm fighting with. They don't compromise, and they are here. They give us headaches, and we have to report to them everything. Then comes the European auditors to audit our partner funds and all our things. They write their own report and criticism. As soon as they leave, the AU comes with their internal audit team, directed by the AU, and they go through our records again and verify everything. And we have finally external auditors. And for this period of 2 years, it's the Auditor General of South Africa that is auditing us. 4 auditors that are not stating any of those things that are being bandied around in the media. How can 4 auditors not feel or see these things? The president went to 4 trips, official trips, which were Pan-African Parliament paid and Pan-African Parliament mission. 1, he went to Kigali on the extraordinary meeting, and he was not alone. It was the Executive Council of the AU. He went with the VPs to Kigali, 17 to 21 March. He went to the Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union in Geneva, also invited. He took the MPs as well, some MPs from various regions, mix of MPs. He went to the Francophonie in Togo, also not alone, accompanied by MPs from various regions, not just from one region. Then he went again to this is Kigali, huh? This is the same one, sorry. This is the same one, Kigali. So the president was campaigning, yes, but not on these trips. These are the trips we paid, okay? These were missions, official missions, accompanied by people from different. Joachim Mulenwe, Honorable First Vice President, is from the Southern region. He would accompany the president to campaign for election. Swelma from Sahrawi. So you can see for yourself, these are the documents. The president went to more than almost 10 other countries during the campaign. He went to Djibouti, he went to Seychelles, he went to Cape Verde, he went to Congo, DRC, Equatorial Guinea, Burundi, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Tanzania. At his own cost. Pan-African Parliament did not give him ticket, per diem, whatever. We didn't give him a dime. And this, I'm on record. The auditors can come here and validate. If there is any payment of ticket or per diem to the president for these missions, let them state it. And by the way, I forgot one other mission he went to.
He went to Gambia. And in Gambia, he was invited by the president of Gambia, who met him in Kigali to discuss the trade pact that they have for Africa, that they are saying the Africans should come to deal with, to lift the borders, to improve things. I accompanied him to Gambia. And in Gambia, we did not meet the Speaker of Parliament. We did not meet even our MPs because it was election time. And I knew, and he knew, if the media covered any of those events with him and the parliamentarians or the Speaker, or he met them, it will be construed that he was campaigning. He met the President of Gambia that very day. Within that hour, we headed to the airport and out. From there, he went to Cape Verde, paid by himself. And the ticket, he gave me the money, pay my ticket because I'm going to Cape Verde. So yes, Mr. Nkodo traveled a lot to campaign, but at his own cost. How, where he got the money, I don't know. It's none of my business. He can campaign. He's a politician. He's campaigning. He used his own money. Who am I to tell him not to travel? In fact, I and most of the people in PAP did not even know where he was. Even the director of bureau sometimes doesn't know which country he is at because he's using his own ticket, paying his own trips to go and campaign. Sometimes we don't know. He calls from, I'm here, I'm there. How is things in the office? That's all we know. Nkodo is a businessman in Cameroon and he had money with him. I'm not defending anything in terms of where he got the money from. It's none of my work, but I'm saying I'm a chartered accountant, a member of Chartered Institute of Certified Accountants in England and Wales, and a Chartered Institute of Management Accountant in England and Wales. And I have an MBA in Business and Finance. I will not throw my job and my future on my practicing certificate to give illegal money to Nkodo. Because tomorrow he finishes, I will be in trouble with my qualification. I can't practice. There are other staff. My deputy in finance is from Zimbabwe. He's a Southerner. He will not sign a check for Nkodo if it is not legal, if he is not going on a mission that is approved. A mission of campaign? No, we did not. Plus, if you check all the records in PAP and all the auditors or send whatever they are banning around forensic audit, let them send the forensic auditors to come. They can be better than the 4 auditors who audit us. Let them come and check the records to see whether we have given Nkodo any advantage on this campaign. We did not. Plus, Nkodo is not a signatory to the PAP accounts, even though he is the president. By rule, for segregation of duty and control of the administration, only the clerk, myself, and 3 or 4 other senior staff can sign, and not one person can sign. 2 people have to sign for a check to go through. So Nkodo does not have access to PAP money without us giving it to him. Before we give money to Nkodo, we'll give to ourselves if we had that opportunity or that right. Nkodo has his money, uses it the way he likes, he does what he wants in his own private capacity. We can't control that, but we don't give him money. We don't even give him an imprest anymore. At the start, before, we give imprest small amounts, 1,000, 2,000. So when he goes sometimes, he has exigencies, he pays. But Nkodo does, if he travels now, we take the money, the accountants, finance officers, we control the money. Eligible expenses, we pay. Non-eligible, we debit. Even when we go to missions and he has to dry clean, as the president of Pan-African Parliament, he needs to look good. He needs to compose himself. He's the president of the African Union Parliament. He goes, we should have been paying for those dry cleaning because he didn't go there in his own capacity to do a private business. He went there for the mission of Pan-African Parliament. But he pays for his own dry cleaning. He pays for any other extras. We debit it from him, from his hotel bill. Sorry, sir. This is ineligible according to the AU rules. Oh, we can't do this. So I'm saying, I'm not defending the dismissal of the clerk. It's not in my purview or my mandate. I don't have the power. I don't assess the clerk. He's my supervisor. He assesses me. If it's a 360 here, I can say how I feel about him, but that's not for this forum. But if we are not doing a 360, he is to be assessed for confirmation. Only his supervisor can. Who is his supervisor? The president of PAP. He told him, I am not comfortable yet with you, but I'm not firing you. I'm extending you for 6 months. And he rejected it. rejected because he didn't send it back, he didn't sign it. And he sent an email, which he copied to me, to say that he didn't agree with the president's assessment of him because he has been managed poorly. I can't judge that. But I said, if you are on probation and quote me in any labor law, you are not a staff. And probation has a meaning. It means even during that time, 2-3 months, you can be stopped. 1 month, you can be stopped. You are on probation. You have not been confirmed. There's nowhere in this law, whether South Africa or anywhere in the world, where a probationary person can say, no, I'm on probation, I have to continue. No way. You are on probation. The person who assesses you has to confirm you. He said he is not comfortable. So these are the surroundings and the things that culminated in this. And unfortunately, a lot of bad publicity is made of PAP, affecting our credibility and our image. It's politics. And we know sometimes African politics gets out of hand and is dirty. Unfortunately, us, we are professionals, we are technicians. We just do what the rule says. We are guided by rules, by procurement rules, by other rules. They said, also in the media, that the president takes 8 people during session to Santon, paid for by PAP. They said South Africa is spending a lot of money on PAP, giving us money to use and for the benefit of Nkodo, who is largest and lavishing this money. And I am on record. South Africa does not give PAP 10 rand in cash. 10 rand. South Africa is a host country. A host country maintains and helps the host to perform its services. And how did they do that? According to the host country agreement, by giving us these wonderful office premises, by giving us facilities to use for security, the police that you see out there, by giving us transport when we have events, when we have meetings, not off meetings, when we have meetings or when the bureau members are here. That's when South Africa does that. This is the role of the host, which is signed by the government of South Africa. AU has different countries that they are in, and the organs are spread. But the countries are the ones who opt. I want to host this. During the time of Mandela, Thabo, they were very keen to have an African institution here. And the second biggest organ of the AU, Pan-African Parliament, was put here. So that's what South Africa does. How much they pay, who they pay, why they pay, who they contract, we have no business, no part in it. They don't consult us. The Department of International Relations and External Relations is the one who hires, fires, even the cleaners here. We don't pay them. It's the government who contracts them and pays them. It's part of the host country agreement. So if anybody says that South Africa has given us a check or money directly to PAP, let them give you an evidence or proof who collected that money. Because as far as I am the director in charge of finance, admin and HR, 10 rand I haven't received. South Africa also supports us again through what? Their contribution to the African Union. The African Union is the one that collects all money contributions by states. Member states contribute there. And South Africa definitely is one of the biggest contributors and one of the most important countries, because it is one of the most developed countries in Africa. It's the limelight, it's the beacon. So they contribute there. And AU in our budget process will evaluate how much those PAP need to do their meetings, to do their that, to pay the staff, to do that. And in the PRC, they discuss this thing, they evaluate, and they decide how much to give to PAP. It's been 19, 18 million, 17 million dollars. That's all. To pay the staff. Just the staff cost is almost 6 million. So the rest is pittance. I have been working for the World Bank. I have been working for ICAO. My budget that I control was 400 million. In Transco, it was 600 million dollars. I am dealing with 20 million. It's a sacrifice to work for my continent. They can't pay me, but I want to work for this continent to make it go forward. Because before I came here, if you look at the reports and the audit reports and compare it to now, we have far gone ahead to change what PAP was. PAP was to an extent that a reorganization and restructuring was done to weed out staff that were brought in here by politicians. They were all had to reapply for their jobs. So the people that are here now are people who competed and won. I'm not saying everything was transparent. There have been errors. There have been some times when staff things, but even those were investigated by the AU. They didn't leave it up. They investigate and said this appointment is not right. This appointment, as I told you about the clerk. So the misinformation and the kind of thing that they portray out there, that we deliberately give money to the president. No, the accommodation that the president is staying was done on the basis of the fact that the South African government, through DERCO, inspected the house that was given to the previous president and confirmed that it was uninhabitable and that they need to renovate it. And the documents are here. I'm not telling you stories. DERCO documents we can give you to show you that. So they are going to repair it. And what did the government offer? We will be lodging the president in a hotel until the accommodation is properly sorted. So the president was being lodged, not paid by PAP, paid directly by DERCO to the hotels, and they decide which hotel he stays. We had no saying in it. After it protracted time, not almost 1 year or so, 2 years, the renovations. Then they wrote before that they wrote to say, sorry, this place we have checked it is definitely even not repairable. Let us get him a new place. We'll work on that. So he said we'll wait. So they still continued to lodge him in various hotels. It was very inconvenient for the president of the PAP because when he comes for the meetings, he has his personal things. He will have to take from this hotel, and when he is going back, he has a lot of things, documents and things. He cannot leave it in hotels. So what does he do? Even if he brings food, for example, sometimes you like your delicacies from your back home. You bring a suitcase of fish to be cooking your own local delicacies. What does he do? He leaves it with staff. That's what the president was doing. Leave his personal stuff with staff. He wouldn't even know which staff is holding his shirt, which one has his shoes for a president of a continental parliament. Come on. But he enjoyed it for a long time. Then he said no. He came to the bureau and said, bureau members, I can do this no more. I don't do this even for my country. How can I come here in the continental parliament and they are treating me like a child? I have to be looking where my things are. I need to be in a residence. You have to authorize that I be put in a residence. So for few time whilst we are searching for residence, the bureau approved it. But I told him we'll do the tender, we'll do everything, we'll look out where it's suitable, diplomatic area anyway, in Pretoria. During that time, PAP had to host him, put him somewhere comfortable. That's the only time PAP was paying for the president's place to stay. The time too, because he was not comfortable also going to some guest houses here and there. We were preparing for that. After that was done, if you check what DERCO used to pay for him to stay for 4 days or 5 days, and what we paid for him to stay 4 or 5 days, compared to what we rented for a whole month, is less.
How much was it?
In Santon, in what's the place called? Michelangelo, or the smaller one, Michelangelo. We were paying almost $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day, even at today's rate of the rand being low, for times 5 days. Let's say you stay 5 days. Divide is 50,000. $1,000. Sorry, $1,000 times 5 days. My math is good. It's 5,000. Multiplied by 12 is 60,000 rand. If he stayed just 5 days, the house we are paying is 72,000 or so rand. I can give you the contract. Okay, for month, and he gets to put his stuff in that house. He gets to be able comfortably to sleep and wake up in a diplomatic, secure place. He gets to be able to know where his things are. We didn't end even at our bureau. We took that thing. I told him, Mr. President, I know this place. People will come and start pointing how you got this, where you are living, it's extravagant, blah blah blah, without knowing the facts and how this thing happened. Let's take this thing to the AU. And the deputy chairperson of the AU then, Mr. Wencha from Kenya, wrote to me and the president, authorizing that due to the fact that it will cost PAP more to host him in a hotel than in this residence, plus the inconveniences he's suffering, let us lodge him until the government provides him with accommodation. Okay? The governments keep on working on the new accommodation. They have been showing us few places, some of which he didn't feel good about. But even so, he said, look, in the end, if this contract that we have taken for this 2-3 years ends, I'll stop the rental. And I just have to give up that I'm not going to be housed. Because it has taken prolonged too long. But even with that, we still continued, and DERCO has promised that they will work harder and help us to get him accommodation, which we will not be paying. And I'm sure they will keep their word. So these are also bandied around. He's this, he's that, he's paying for, we took an expensive thing, more than what it was costing. The documents are there. It's not, we are not making them up. The contract is there. And I heard also in part of the things that they were written, that we paid in advance 3 years. The landlord is even chasing me now for some of the payments for these coming months. We pay him sometimes 2-3 months late. We have been paying in bits and pieces. 1 year, then we paid another month. Now he's asking for the bank, saying, if you don't do something, I'm going to lock up until the president stinks out. That's the kind of inconvenience he's going through. So, for me, my main aim is to clarify the story. The clerk, yes, is from Malawi, he's a Southerner. The issues between him and the president is not a regional issue, because the deputy clerk is from Chad, and his probation is extended as well as him. I would feel aggrieved if my probation is extended. I am telling you, I would be, as he is. But that wouldn't make me try to destroy the image of the institution and run the institution aground just for my head. Because people have been working in PAP since 2006 before I came here. If I leave, I will leave in honor and dignity. I won't sell material or information of PAP to incriminate other people or destroy the image of the institution to the extent that everybody in the African Union will be thinking this is an institution that should not exist.
Is that what you think the clerk is doing?
I feel, I don't have my evidence to back it, but I have spoken to him, and he has sent an email to the president recently before the termination letter, before he even received his termination letter. He has sent an email following the president's email to him, stating that the president is trying to fire him because he has refused to do his personal use PAP funds for the president's personal bidding. What implication does that mean? Who has been using the PAP resources for the president's benefit? Does he have evidence? Let him show it. Let him bring it there. The evidence to show that we gave Nkodo money, which is bandied around, that we gave him money for campaign and we paid for his tickets. Even we cannot even do that without the clerk's authorization. These trips that the president went, the memos that are sent, the memos that follow them for me to act comes from the clerk. So the 31 trips, if they happened during the campaign, it is the clerk who would have authorized it. Is that what happened? You ask him whether he has authorized any of this. And they said that we lock him out, we don't allow him in. It's 29th was the end for his contract. And the president gave him what the rule says, 1 month in lieu of notice. He could have negotiated or did something. Since 29, he did nothing. He was busy with the media campaign, fighting, but putting things out in the open, airing dirty laundry that will destroy the image of PAP for his own skin. It's not a professional thing to do. That's what I feel.
Can I ask? Yes. Obviously, you are the deputy clerk. When you were hired, and I'm asking this to inform us in terms of the procedure of hiring and I suppose firing of members of staff of the Pan-African Parliament. Who hired you?
I was hired by the Pan-African Parliament by President Amadi, not Kodo.
In his personal capacity?
No, the institution.
What is the institution?
I did an interview here and passed the interview. And before they even offered me a job, I was called back by the World Bank for the Transco CLSG project in Cote d'Ivoire. which is for 4 countries electrification program, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, they call it CLSG, as the chief financial management officer to make the projects pass the feasibility test. I was referred by the World Bank to the Transco that if this guy doesn't come and fix your documentation, we will not transfer money to you. And I went to Cote d'Ivoire for 8 months and got the feasibility done and the funding from the World Bank transferred to Transco. And that's when PAP called me. I could have continued at Transco. My salary was $10,000 plus bonuses plus other things. I left it to come to PAP at a lower salary. And to also give you an feedback on that question, because something came out of that. It's one of these writing. That a friend of mine called Ojojo.
Mr. Jobe, please answer my question.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, when members of staff are hired,
yeah.
clerks, deputy clerks,
yes.
who hires them? That's my question.
The board, the bureau. You are interviewed.
By whom?
By the panel. There was a consultant during that time. And this consultant's name was Ojojo. He was the one running the program of the hiring for the restructuring of PAP. Okay? Ojojo. Mr. Ojojo, I have never met in my life or seen in my life or even heard his name in my life until I was being interviewed in PAP. Ojojo worked at the ACBF in Harare, but I did not find him there. He left ACBF, I think 2 years before I joined ACBF. And you can get the facts by checking with ACBF, the staffing records. I did not meet him. I never met him. I don't know him. I never communicated with him until my hiring into PAP. During the hiring process is when I knew Ojojo. So they are saying, oh, his friend at ACBF that he worked with is the one who brought him here. I don't know Ojojo. People at ACBF.
I think the clarity that I'm looking for is to find out. And again, I said,
who hired me?
You are helping us here.
Yeah.
Are you hired by the Pan-African Parliament or are you hired by the African Union?
Well, African Union and Pan-African Parliament are the same.
Well,
the Pan-African Parliament
I know that.
is an organ of the AU.
Absolutely.
But to help you, here's my personal file. Okay?
Okay.
Here's my personal file. And it says, it will show you here all my qualifications and whatever, and you can check my appointment letter. I want to show you my appointment letter.
I'll tell you why I'm asking this.
Notification of appointment.
I'll tell you why I'm asking this.
Yes.
I'm asking this to understand whether when you come in here, you talk to the president, who becomes your only contact point, or you are told that you work for an organization and this is the process that you follow and these are the people who decide whether you're hired or fired.
Yes.
So in the case of the clerk, maybe I should be direct.
Yes.
In the case of the clerk, who are the people that should be involved in the hiring and firing of the clerk? Is it just the president?
Okay. In the hiring of the clerk, he goes through interview process. The appointment and promotion board that we are now constituted, which was not existing then, but in the time of the clerk existed, makes a recommendation after the candidates, first 3, and submit it to the president for hiring. The president of the PAP is the representation of the chairman of the African Union here at the Pan-African Parliament. He is the one who signs your appointment letter. Alone.
So he does not consult the bureau in that appointment?
No, it goes to the bureau from the APROP. From the APROP, he tables it at the bureau, or he contacts the bureau members to say this is the report from the APROP.
Is it a requirement or an option?
It's not a requirement. It's not written anywhere. It's not written in our rules that he should contact the bureau.
So as it stands, the African Union has given the president of the Pan-African Parliament all powers to hire and fire staff. Is that what you're telling me?
I haven't finished yet.
Okay.
When the president decides that yes, this candidate is a good candidate, and I agree with the appropriate recommendation, he now has to go to the plenary. And before he goes to the plenary with that appointment, the bureau also discusses it. And it's the bureau who takes it
That's why I'm asking
the
you,
plenary.
is it a requirement or an option
To do what?
to consult the bureau in the plenary?
No, it
Is
will be.
a requirement?
No, it's a requirement.
Okay.
It is, because he's hiring. He is the signatory to that letter. But he goes to the plenary. It's like a confirmation hearing. What do you call it? Confirmation. Whether they agree or not to your selected candidate. That's how you get hired.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, in the case of firing, the same process. If you are a staff,
Right.
but mind my words, the clerk is on probation. He is not a staff yet.
So because he's not a staff member, the requirements don't apply to him to consult the bureau and the plenary?
In my own opinion and based on what I know legally, I could be wrong. But I'm telling you from my standpoint, for my knowledge, this is what I can tell you, that if he is on probation and the reporting line is not to plenary, not to the bureau, but to the president is the one who does his evaluation form. He doesn't do it and send it to the bureau or plenary to endorse the evaluation. All clerks who have been here are evaluated by the president and confirmed.
And only the president?
And only the president.
Okay. In this case,
Yes.
we are told by the vice president, the first vice president, and that is Mr. Stephen Masele,
Yeah.
that his understanding of the process is that the bureau, particularly him as vice president for human resources, should have been not only consulted, not only informed, but consulted.
Okay.
Do you agree with this?
Okay, let me try to be very careful on that answer, because you are now telling me somebody in the bureau who's also somehow, he's my boss, because he's a bureau member. So I don't see what he told you or what he said to you, or I wasn't present to know that is what he said to you. But what I can tell you is, if the president, from the communication that I got and the letter that I got from the president for the showing the termination of the clerk's job, he stated in that letter that he consulted the bureau members. Okay? Because they are not here stationary. The problem with PAP is that our members of parliament, unlike the European Parliament, where they are based there, they are all over the place now. So you cannot all the time convene a meeting. And for financial reasons, we cannot be flying them all the time. Although I know the clerk position is so important that it could have warranted that they convene a meeting. But that's a judgment thing. All I'm saying is that the president in his letter of termination said, after talking telephone conference with his bureau members, is when he did this, or he decided to go ahead with his plan. But he consulted. I, in my own capacity as a staff and as a human resource person, I have to do due diligence as well. I personally, and to put me on record, I personally called all the bureau members myself. Currently we have only 4 because the South have not nominated their men. I called them on my phone and I said, Your Excellency, the president has told me that he consulted you with what he has sent to stop the clerk's job. The MP and vice president from Algeria, who's the vice president for Northern Region, confirmed to me and said he agreed with the decision. The MP from Mali, who's representing the Western Region, confirmed to me. You understand? The MP that you quoted, who's also a vice president #1, said he was told by the president, but he thinks that the decision was made before he was consulted. This is his statement. And I spoke to him even on the phone, because we were trying to say, how do we manage and control the damage and fallout from this? And we discussed ways and means to minimize the damage. And I was like between a rock and a hard place. When the elephants fight, the grass suffers. I have an authority to the OIC and manage this thing, and I'm dealing with my boss, who is challenging this decision. What if he comes back tomorrow and he's the clerk and I'm here? So I have to tread carefully. And I did that. I asked him, what do I do, sir? Because now you are telling me that I should try to do something to talk to the president. I have spoken to the president, and he says he spoke to you guys and he's not changing his stance, because he already feels that even If you object, there are 3 bureau members that agrees with him. He has 3-1. And you quoted something that the first vice president is in charge of HR. I agree. In our division of duties, the president delegates. Okay, let me make that very clear. It is not like when we appoint the vice president, we say you are the vice president hereby appointed as vice president in charge of human resource or in charge of media or in charge. There's no letter like that. This is a delegated authority that the president gives to the other vice president in order to be able to manage and control the activities of the parliament, because it's too big if he wants to focus on everything. So each vice president is given a particular task so that they narrow their focus and control and advise him on those matters relating to their area. So even now, when we have an appointment, we interview somebody and you are to be hired, for example you, and we interview you, we say you are a good candidate. We go to the appointment and promotion board. In the appointment and promotion board, the chair is the first vice president. He will be chairing those meetings to appoint people. And when he finishes at the appointment and promotion board, he writes to the president to say, following the meeting of my appointment and promotion board, we have decided that this person has been successful, is the best candidate, we submit for your approval. So it's not like the decision of the first vice president on human resource is final. It has to be, I'm telling you my technical knowledge. If it's wrong, correct me, but I have no facts for the past 3 years which says, or in the plenary which says you are appointed as vice president in charge of this or that or that. No. Vice presidents are vice president. Their job is to sit in when the president is not there. So in the absence of the president, or when he is sick, or if he died, this honorable member from Tanzania would be in charge of PAP. Straight away. He's number 1. He had the most votes. That is what happens. But in that sphere also, I think in the wisdom of the allocation of duties, the task of HR is very onerous and heavy. I think that is why it's allocated as a task to the first vice president. So I am not going to dispute what he said. I am not going to counter what he said. I'm just telling you from my technical knowledge and from my experience here, what is on record. And if there's any paper that purports to that, I want to see it. He's the chairman of the APROP. He is in charge of human resources on behalf of the president in the parliament. And upon decision or recommendation, the recommendation from him on the appointment, promotion, and termination, whatever board, goes to the president. So in this situation of this clerk, he's on probation. The new vice president has just came in. The president was here for 3 years, worked with the clerk for 1 year. The new VP is just made that we had our elections. So all the other vice presidents are new. So therefore, in my own knowledge and from my technical knowledge and background, I am not saying the president has the right to fire the clerk, by the way. I want to be on record. And I'm not saying the clerk is a malicious or bad person. We've worked harmoniously, a lot of times better than ever. But he has a situation with his supervisor. The supervisor is not the bureau. The supervisor is not the plenary, it's the president. And therefore, I think they have to resolve it. I think the caucuses, all the MPs who are concerned have to be concerned, because any bad publicity is bad. The donors are there, and even some of the things being bandied on the TV and radio again, that we are using donor money to pay for the president. How crazy can we be? Donors, even if you pay 10 rand wrongly to buy Coke for somebody, they come and they're ineligible. They send their auditors. You don't choose any auditor. They send an auditor, Ernst & Young, and they tell you, sorry, this 10 rand you bought a Coke is ineligible. We are not using our funds for it. Charge it to the AU. If you go to the AU, they'll kill you, because you get money from the donor and you misuse it. So it's not all rosy here. By the way, the audits have a lot of issues, because you all knew we are still transitioning. The financial system was directly imposed on us from the AU, the SAP. Most of my finance staff are still struggling to learn and adapt to it. There will be mishaps, there will be errors and omissions, but no auditor so far has found fraud or irregularity in our financial statement. This report, audit report for 2017 that has just been sent to the AU, is an unqualified report, which is a clean but not perfect report. Like all the other reports, there's room for improvements. There are management letter points pointing to things that should be done better, like the assets and other things. And it's because we have problems with the assets. Most of it is owned by the government, it came from the government. There's no value where the purchase costs, so we have a problem of recording them different from the ones we buy ourselves. We buy very few things, but when you send a person to audit, he will have a problem identifying which is the government, which is the PAPs. So we hired a consultant to come and tag and identify within the tags what is PAP and what is government. So you can use a barcode to identify this and build a proper asset register. And we are struggling in those areas.
Now, you say you have worked well with the clerk.
Yes.
Why do you think the president thinks he's not performing? That's the first line on the letter.
Okay. He is my supervisor. I work with him as a subordinate, as somebody who gives me directives and guides me and tells me here and there what to do. But I am very independent in my work because I have been 2 years acting clerk here. So I don't need a clerk to guide me. But I report to him and he has been giving me some guidance and input. We haven't been conflicting. We have not had any issues, me and the clerk. We have never, ever had any confrontation until now. In fact, my evaluation is right now on his desk to do since last month. But he didn't have time because we had the session and then these issues came in. He has not had time to evaluate me to say how I'm performing. I cannot evaluate him because I've never been into that situation where I'm asked to evaluate him. But if I am to judge him, I'm judging him as my supervisor. The president is judging him as his subordinate. It's only the president who has a better bird's eye view of what he wanted from him. I don't know the work plan and the agreements that he signed with the president or what he stated to perform or to deliver during that period. So I can't say that this is what the president asked him and he didn't do it. Only the president can say that. So I think on some of those things the president can give you a better answer. When you interview him or when you ask him or when you write to him, you can ask him, why did you think this guy was not performing? Because he stated in his letter.
We actually were hoping to talk to the president, but he's not here, and we were told that you are the person and we can do that interview.
Yes.
So I was hoping that you would be able to answer those questions.
Yes, I can answer the questions under a subordinate side. That I said I worked well with him. I didn't say he's exemplary or he's excellent. I said I worked well with him. Working well doesn't mean the person has passed. But I am showing you that in my approach to him, I didn't have issues. But I didn't fire him, and I don't have the power to fire him. I don't have any power to do anything to him. I got an authority and a directive, official letter, an official directive that this is the termination of his appointment, and you two deputy clerks. In fact, the president didn't put me in charge initially because there are two deputy clerks. He gave that mandate to the two deputy clerks. He said, you will be in charge of finance, admin, and human resource, and the other deputy clerk, Mr. Galima Saharu, will be in charge of legislative matters in his letter of termination. Unfortunately, the deputy clerk of legislative business is on mission in Rwanda and is arriving back today. So in that interim, I am the only one. And in his letter also, he stated, in the absence of Gali, if Gali is absent, you serve as OIC in charge of clerk post. And that's what brought me into this melee between the two of them.
One of the reasons in that letter why the clerk is being terminated is because he conducted media interviews without the permission of the president. Have you got the permission of the president to conduct this interview?
Yes, I did. And I, even without anybody telling me that, during the time I was clerk, when SABC invited me on the crisis of the when people were attacked, homophobia, whatever, I called him and I sent him an email. I don't even end on calling sometimes. I have to send him an email just to have it on record. But I called him yesterday and said, these things going on in the media, we have to do something to correct the facts, at least to show them documentary proof and evidence that these things, 90% of it is false and fabricated. by people that are angry about their nature of their terminations or whatever, or by people for political reasons, or by people who just don't like PAP. Sometimes people don't like you, they don't like you. It doesn't matter whatever good you do. What we have to work. But I got permission from him because it's in the rules. It's not an option. It is in the rules, and you can look that rule up. It's in the rule 5.3 of the staff rules and regulations. It says if you are holding any media activity or meetings, you need a permission from your supervisor. It has to be cleared. Otherwise, everybody, a driver can just go and stand in the media and start talking, and the institutions will be in trouble. And we know a lot of times things go to the media. The media reports what they have, what they receive. Until they get the facts, that's what they have. So you have to be able to refute that. There's a level that people can be to know what is in the facts. And that is what I'm saying. I didn't, during my time with the president, do interviews without his permission. I never left South Africa without his permission. And this is what he stated here. Factual or not, he is the one stating it, and he's the president of PAP, so I have to believe him. Unless I have evidence that to the contrary. But the clerk doesn't copy me when he is asking permission to the president, so I wouldn't know. And I'm not the only deputy clerk. Sometimes I'm on mission or something. The other deputy clerk is here, so he might be in the know when I'm not in the know.
Now, I myself have interviewed the clerk, I think, more than 3 times. But all of those times, I believe it was during the sittings of the parliament.
Yes.
Now, in those cases, do you also believe that it is a must for the clerk to seek permission from the president to speak to the media?
Madam, I think so. There are options when it is not in the rule. When there's a gray area that is not stipulated, you can maneuver, and you are justified to maneuver. Well, when you have to be conversant, if you are not, you ask. You understand? And this is not also to incriminate the clerk. I am the deputy clerk in charge of finance, admin, HR, media, protocol in PAP and procurement. I am his deputy. He held an interview with the media recently, that talk show, where the 2 other MPs were also speaking. It was in me. I was not even informed until the day I was sent a link to say, watch the link. He didn't consult me on the preparatory work on any of this. Plus, if I am going to the media on an issue as important as trying to deal with protocol or other issues, I would have called my senior management or team. Even if they are just sitting absent, if it's not a video thing, they can sit around and be giving me clues or responses where I don't have the facts. Because the question of somebody asking you that the president traveled 31 times paid for by PAP should not have gone unanswered by the clerk. That is fact he has. He cannot tell me he doesn't know, because he signs those trips. He signs the payments. He signs the PRs. He approves the memos. I cannot say I need forensic audit for it. I don't need a forensic audit. I will say that is a fabricated lie, because the president trips I approve are 4 or 5. That fact, and if I don't have it, I'll be looking at my finance manager or somebody and say, please. And you wouldn't even tell me. If I'm sitting there, I would have written to him already and say, sir, false. Refute it. This is the number. If they go there and say that the president goes to the countries for campaigning, and you see the people he went with, they are from the different regions. It means the regional heads of those regions who are competing against him, they had candidates, went with him to campaign. I don't think the president has that power or magical power to make those people go. We were to keep neutral and do the best we can. It's always difficult with politicians, I'm telling you. And a lot of the time, sorry to use the word, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But we are guided by rules and regulations. And as long as we are within that, we are safe. And I tell you, I am not perfect. I have had issues here in PAP. For example, a case was bandied around also, misinterpreted, about the Sharm el-Sheikh mission we did in Egypt, where we held the session in Egypt. I was the acting clerk, and the bureau then put me and said, we want you to be also managing the deputy clerk, finance, admin, and HR. So I was doing 2 jobs. I went negotiated with the Egyptian authorities to give us this session to be held there for exposure to outreach to the African. And for the first time in history, the Pan-African Parliament held a joint session with the Arab Parliament. The entire Arab Parliament was there with us, discussed contacts and negotiations and things that would be worthwhile for the PAP. The Egyptian Parliament spent over $500,000 for that event because I was there in the negotiation with the hotelier. The hotel is a 5-star hotel. The minimum they charge per night is $200. And we told them no. In South Africa, our MPs go to reasonable hotels which are near our place, sometimes bed and breakfast and so on. If we bring them here and you charge even $100, they will tell us not to come here. So you have to make it cheap. We started at 50. The government said, no. We can't do this. We can't subsidize $150. We went to 70. The event, the Egyptian government paid over $130 per MP per day. 210 MPs, $130 per day paid by the government. They gave us almost all the transport. They gave us the venue, which they paid for by themselves. In addition, it was not only bed and breakfast, they gave bed, breakfast, and dinner. Only lunch was being catered for by us. $500,000+ a country spend it on you. We spent $7,000 for transport. And why? Originally, they were not sure whether the Arab Parliament would come in or not. So in the hotel that they gave us, where the meeting room was located to make proximity and avoid a lot of movement, there was not enough room when the Arab Parliament confirmed they are coming. So we had to evacuate our staff. In the last minute, day before the meeting, we had to move 40 of our staff to another annex hotel. And we had not catered for that in our budget or plans or even exigencies. The staff were asked to move. But we were told that the hotel had a connection door. It's the same owner. Ilili, you can go through the back door. So we said, there's no issue. In the morning, we just open the back door and they come in. Unknown to us, because the president of Egypt was coming, that back door was sealed for security reasons. And there is no accessible road to the main hotel. You have to go 10, 15, 20 minutes out round to come to the event. I woke up at 6 or 5 a.m. to make sure everything is in order and so on. And I was given the information that, sorry, your staff will not be coming because they have to walk 30 minutes to come to the meeting. I said, no, you're joking. There's the back door. We agreed with them. This hotel cannot play this game. I called the manager, let's go. We went to the, he said, hey, no, sir. I'm sorry. I want to, but I've been given orders by the Egypt government that for security reasons, the back doors cannot be used because we cannot allow the president to have any threats. It's a time of terrorism. There were attacks and everything. So I understood it. So in that spur of the moment, not being in my comfortable zone and not being in the country that I'm used to, I had to hire a transport to ferry the staff, 2 transport, 1 van and 1 small car, to ferry them to the meeting venue. I couldn't hold a committee meeting, tender meeting in that morning to do that. And I was thinking in terms of value. There's something in finance we call materiality. $7,000 is only what PAP is spending, apart from 2 other support staff or whatever. Everything else, including the support staff, apart from 2 or 3, were paid for by the Egypt government. You want me to sit and convene a tender and for this? No. Okay, I did it unilaterally and whatever with the transport coordinator. And we said, and we used the same company that the hotel was using to provide transport for the government to give us this service. And I was being audited for $7,000. It was a big problem. Why? What did he do? What arrangement? And in Egypt, for God's sake, in the day of the meeting,
Okay, it could have been regularized after the meeting or so on, but imagine the kind of load I was carrying, being clerk and deputy clerk, finance admin. I have to sign all payments, I have to approve all things, and then I have to be in the political scene, I have to be in the bureau's meeting. The president wants you here, Mr. Clerk, you are needed over there, Mr. Clerk. I had to do that all by myself. And I was audited, incriminated for $7,000. I even offered to pay it cash. They said, no, it's an audit query, we'll put it there. And they put it there and caution that in future, even if you do this due to emergency, get it regularized. Let the other people that are part of the tender committee to also endorse that, yeah, it was an emergency and you had to do it. So I'm telling you, it's not all rosy. And it's internal audit of PAP who audited this. It's not like even outside, my fellow staff. But they did what they had to do, due diligence. They checked everything and they said, this is the report. It went to CAPA. I was grilled by our committee on audit who are very tough. They don't take, they even almost throw me out of the meeting. If you speak a word again, we'll throw you out. I kept quiet. You understand? I kept quiet. So this is the reality we are in. It's not easy, but there has to be a context that we take things. Let's not forget the good things and bury it and only talk about the bad. I am not a campaigner for the president. I did not campaign for him. If he won or didn't win, it didn't matter to me because my job and my confirmation was done and I am a staff of the African Union. I was confirmed that I am good in my job. I was evaluated twice by him with flying colors in my job. I was taking a load of a clerk and deputy clerk in my job, and that time there was not even a deputy clerk of LBC. I was working with the person OIC there, you know. But life goes on. If the president fired me, Yusupha JOBE, I swear to God, I was gonna be dignified in my exit, and I will challenge him out there in the courts. I will go to the appropriate authorities, but I won't go to try to tarnish or damage the reputation of either the president or the media for that matter. Especially if what the president did for this man, he was audited for the first time. AU sent investigators to audit the appointment of the clerk. Why he was appointed despite these petitions that were done. And he defended it, fought with the plenary to defend this guy. So the judgment is out there. Let people judge. The clerk has been terminated by the president, who is the supervisor. Whether he did it according to the rules or not, I cannot validate that. But what I know is I would have taken due process and challenged him and used my will to get compensated if I was wrongfully dismissed. And it will be within my right. But I won't be creating stories or anomalies. What am I going to get from that? Am I going to depose the president? Am I going to have the president, the AU to come and take over PAP? Or come and say, no, president, we are appointing a new president? That is done by the parliamentarians. The AU rule says the parliamentarians, and they did it. So I can't fight him. I can challenge what he did to me and get redress. And if he did wrong, if it is personal and he did it illegally, the AU will ask him to pay it from his pocket.
And so, to your knowledge, how many parliamentarians are not happy with the clerk?
To my knowledge, I can say a few. To my knowledge, because I don't ask how is the clerk doing. You see, it will create as if I'm trying to find a fault in him. So I don't. If people come to me and say, no, this clerk, no, this clerk, then I say, but you know, I have been there, and it's the same that sometimes I was getting. You see, the post of clerk, I'm not very, how do I call it? It's not something that somebody should be aspiring for in this situation.
And those that say they're unhappy with his performance or him, what do they say they're unhappy about?
But I have been having the same thing. That's what I'm telling you. When I was the clerk or acting clerk, I used to have people say, because you know it's a human nature, and sometimes in the context of Africa where we are working, you find sometimes that people come and they want something, and you are saying no, and you have your reasons, but they don't want to see your reasons. They see their reasons. You know, sometimes I had that before with some MPs. Some of them are no longer in PAP, but they came when I was in acting clerk, and they want paid per diem when their countries have already paid them, or they want us to pay them for a trip, a ticket that we didn't authorize them to go, or whatever. And I said, no, sir, I will have to answer to this, and the audits will pull it out anyway. So I cannot do this, and then they will be angry. So when they go, they'll tell people, that guy, we'll make sure he's not clerk.
We will make sure he's not get the job because he doesn't listen to us. He doesn't do that. But I just get on with my work. If they are happy or not happy, I try to please who is the one assessing me with my performance.
Okay. Is it a fact that there are members of staff who were given allowances to travel who have not either accounted for those allowances or paid back the money?
That is a big fabricated lie. There has been in the past, before I even joined PAP, in the past, staff that have left and have outstanding impresses that they didn't pay, but they left the institution. Some were terminated, and in the sphere of the things then, at that time, which is one of the reasons these things have been done, the restructuring, there was no clearance. This was introduced here. Anytime a staff is leaving now, we send to each department head to say, does he owe anything to the institution? So we can tell, we can know before we pay him his entitlements. In the past, they didn't do that. So if you are terminated, we pay your pension, we pay your thing, you're gone. Then auditing comes and there's a balance in you or a loan outstanding. That is not happening anymore. Because before you go, the head of finance will sign that you have a loan, you have a car, a pen, or a book, or a phone, and we either get it back or we charge you the amount. The impresses, delay of retirements happen, and it happens in every institution. Sometimes you come for a mission like me. I come from mission and I'm busy with the session. I don't have time yet to retire my impress, but I will never get away with it. Or somebody else, happened to someone else. They come and they are sent on another mission. They come, before they even retire this one, they have another urgent mission, they are authorized, they go. So they will retire the two together. But if you go to our records and our financial statements of 2017 and ask the Auditor General of South Africa to tell you the outstanding impress and who, you will see whether staff have got away with it. Now even we debit it in their salary if they fail to do it on time.
Are you saying that members of parliament misunderstood that people were given until the end of May to pay money that was owed?
I'm not even seeing what you're saying.
Members of parliament, after the CAPA report was presented,
yes,
members of parliament came out to say, because obviously the media was not allowed in there, they came out to say that one of the issues that was presented is that the president has not named people who owe the parliament money, who were given impress to travel, but have not accounted for that money, because either he or the bureau have decided to give such people until the end of May to pay the money.
Okay, I'm hearing that from you, but I can tell you that, and I can refer you also to the Director of Finance, the Head of Finance and Budget from Zimbabwe, that if there are outstanding impresses to be paid, it's because there are disputes on them. Because there are issues where the retiree retired, but is told that this amount was, this should have been that, or you should not, and they are disputing it, and there's a chilling. But otherwise, the impresses outstanding are retired, and the records of the financial year for 2017 can tell you which ones are still outstanding by whom.
So it is not a lie. Is it a lie, or is it not a lie that there are people who are owing? Whatever
there are people owing.
The reasons are.
There's always people owing.
So it is not a lie.
No, it's not a lie. Because it's an institution.
Because you started by saying
it's administration. No,
you started by saying
I say to say that people are allowed to go with that money. We are not. It's in their records.
No. My question was, is it true that there are people who still owe the parliament, who were given allowances to travel and have not paid back the money? Your answer was, it's a fabricated lie.
Yeah, it's a fabricated lie. Let me tell you why I'm saying it's a fabricated lie.
Now I'm asking you, is it a fabricated lie or not?
It is a fabricated lie.
How is it a fabricated lie when people were given until the end of May to pay the money?
Because, my dear, you said allowances. Allowances are not repaid. It's not allowances.
I meant impress.
Now you're talking.
The money that you're given to account
now you're talking.
When you come back.
Now you're talking. Because when you spoke to me, you said they were given allowances.
Okay, impress.
And people are given allowances. Allowances are per diem. And I told you it's a fabricated lie. Because nobody is giving an allowance and they don't return it if they don't travel. It doesn't happen, and it's not happening here. If you don't travel, your allowance is taken back. You pay it immediately.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Jobe, we're talking about
impress.
Right.
There are still outstanding impresses, like I said, disputed ones. So that one I won't say is a fabricated lie. I would say it's very minimal and not.
How much is it?
I don't know off my head, but I can tell you that anybody who is owing PAP money now is somebody that has a pension or things enough for PAP to take it back, and he won't leave PAP without paying that money. And because of the CAPA report which we are implementing, and by the next CAPA meeting, we are supposed to show a clean slate of outstanding interest except for journeys that have just happened before the CAPA. They are going to go to town on us, and they would really take objection to the administration allowing that. And I am not going to let that happen. Anybody who owes money to PAP before this coming CAPA would be paying it or deducting it from their salary.
Well, according to the plenary, they were given until the end of May. Hasn't been
That's
paid.
why I'm saying I have not got that directive. Maybe the clerk has it. I don't have a memo from the clerk.
But you are the deputy clerk.
Well,
of
he's
finance.
supposed to. The plenary decisions or CAPA decision goes to him. He instructs me. According to the CAPA, blah blah blah, Mr. Jobe, please immediately deduct this outstanding interests. I, Mr. Jobe, have not received a directive from the clerk telling me that that's the decision of that committee, and that way I should implement. If I was the acting clerk now, I would say yes, I'm in trouble because I was there in the meeting. But I don't attend plenaries anymore because I'm not in the legislative side. The legislative members go and the clerk goes. I have to do the administrative payments and things, so I have to be in my office. Sometimes I'm able to listen in, sometimes I'm not. So I am saying that even if I had it, I can't act, but I should act also. I don't need, to be honest, I don't need a CAPA directive to make sure that impresses are retired at the time stated in the rules. I don't. I have to be frank. There have been times where things happen administratively, there's delays, or administratively they are contested. So it creates a tussle. And if you see that you have a problem, because under labor laws, you cannot deduct more than 40% of somebody's salary in any month. And some of the staff, maybe who owe this, that's the situation predicament they are in. Unless their loans are cleared, you put that interest there, you are going against the law. But we will give them a deadline and tell them that this thing is not going to go on another CAPA report. But like I said, it's not all rosy. And we still have a lot of criticism, a lot of genuine factual criticism that has been pointed out by CAPA. It's in their report. It's not private, it's public. If you want it, I'll give it to you. It's not like we are hiding things. We are not perfect. Our auditors have criticized us in a lot of things. The CAPA has, the external auditors has, the European has. The auditors have to work. Why are they getting paid if they cannot find anything wrong? They have to find something wrong. So it's now important that we remedy these things and we do it quickly. And I am just telling you, I have no axe to grind with the clerk. In fact, when the president wrote to him in his email telling him that he is going to be terminated and that he should hand over to the 2 deputy clerks, he wrote back to the president and said, I am not handing over to Jobe. And I came to his office and I asked him, and there were witnesses. I said, Mr. Clerk, why are you pointing me out in this memo of the president, in email? He said to the 2 deputy clerks, and you single me out in your response. He said, well, because he copied you only in the email. I said, okay. He copied me in the email because now Gali is on mission. I am here. But by the time you hand over, maybe Gali will be back. But you chose to say, I am not handing over to Jobe. That's unfair. Why would you do that to me? Why are you singling me out? And I said to him, look, I even think you are going on a hinge here and a wrong direction. First of all, the president cannot fire you by an email. So if I were you, I would have sat a day and consulted before I even respond to him. Now you are responding to him, accusing him of improprieties, accusing him of misnomer, and saying Jobe is your personal whatever. Me and the president, we are always fighting. If I was the president's stooge, I would have been clerk 3 years ago. If I was his stooge as is portrayed, the president would have put me in clerk before he bring all these 2 people now on over my head whilst I was acting, were brought in to be clerk whilst I was here doing the job. And he, in his report, in the president's report, he said, excellent. Yet he didn't make me a clerk. If he had the power to say clerk appointed, he didn't. And I wasn't even shortlisted. For whatever reason, the AU report will show you that it's stated there that it was illegal, that I should have been shortlisted. Because I worked for more than 1 year in the post. It's a law. You should be compete and be chosen to say you are not good or good. But they didn't shortlist me. I didn't go to the media and say why I'm not shortlisted, it's bias, is this, is that, or challenge anybody they brought. I worked with the people. I'm telling you, this is how I am. I'm a professional and I will maintain that. But I give facts, and where I don't have them, I abstain or I refer you to somebody else. But I advised him, and you can go and validate this with him. I told him, first, you shouldn't have responded to an email, because an email cannot fire you. And he's a lawyer, by the way. But I told him that the email cannot fire you, so you shouldn't have responded. And you shouldn't have gone to town accusing the president. And on top of that, mentioning that I did warn you on your special relationship with Jobe. What is this? Why are you mentioning me? He apologized. Said it was a spur of the moment. I said that's why when you are angry or something happens, you should take your time. And I told him to take his time.
Are you happy to be acting clerk at this point?
Not at all.
Why?
And I am not the acting clerk. Acting has to go through the bureau to be ratified, and the president has to write to me as acting. I am not acting. I am officer in charge, and I am sharing that role with Mr. Dali Masaharu, who incidentally was in Kigali and resumes today. When he comes, he takes his role on legislative. I stay on my finance side. I am not, and I repeat, looking forward to being the clerk of PAP, because I have died working for this institution. I came here, my head was black, all my hair is now white, all the stress, all the politics, and no money. With $20 million budget, people are eating each other. And I have been handling $600 million budget at the International Civil Aviation Authority as the Chief Treasurer and Financial Management head, and strategic planning, the first African to head the strategic planning department of a United Nations body. On top of that, in Transco, I was handling a 400 million project. On top of that, I worked for the World Bank for 3 years in East Timor as Senior Financial Management Specialist. This is in 2000. I was receiving a salary of $15,000. It's not even private. You Google me on Google and you will see my contract with World Bank. It's there for you to see. But I am being paid pittance here. And it's more onerous, more stressful, and more confusing. But it's Africa, it's our continent. Somebody has to do it. If I am capable and try to put the little sanity into this institution, little organization, little semblance of administrative rights, then I have done something. That's what I want to leave as a legacy to my children, to say, you served Africa for virtually nothing.
So, to end this, as far as you know, the firing or termination of the clerk is procedural?
As far as I know, he's on probation, and on procedural grounds, a probation is not a confirmed employment. And his letter of appointment was not signed by the chairperson of the AU, was not signed by the Bureau, it was signed by the President of Pan-African Parliament. And that president wrote terminating the probation. Terminating the probation, and in the letter stated that I gave you a 6-month extension to further improve. I didn't say I'm terminating you. You received, and he confirmed it. I have his email to the president that I reject your extending of my probation, and I challenge it. So he agreed that he refused it. But there's nothing I have or the Director of Bureau has that he has communicated that. But he said it in his email when he received the president's email of termination. That's when he wrote back to say, I'm refusing that extension. But legally, 27th of April, he should not have been even here or paid a salary, which he signed. He was paid a salary because he's on probation and he didn't approve or extend his probation. So he should have been terminated. But this is where the Africanness comes in. You cannot just terminate somebody. Sometimes people need time to think, I'm going to accept this or I'm not going to accept this. So he had an extension of probation. That's what the president gave him. So let us be factual. And he admitted. Then he said he was not accepting that extension because he doesn't agree with the evaluation of the president of his performance. And the president now said, okay, so since you don't want to accept my thing, I am now stopping you because you are on probation. And also for that. Now those points and whether the president is right or wrong, lawyers, arbitrators, adjudicators, AU, the African Court, they are the people to evaluate the chronology of events, look at all the documents and say whether right or wrong. It might be wrong, it might be right. I cannot say it, but I think with the knowledge and the documents I have at my disposal, he erred. I'm not saying he didn't have the right to fight it, I'm saying he erred. And his response to the president and the allegations he levied were premature. Because at that time I received his letter, he was still a clerk. There was no letter from the president, nothing signed, and he cannot be dismissed by an email.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to remain sitting for about a minute. I just want to...
Now, I want to give you something. You want to record this?
Okay.
I'm giving you this because it's not confidential anymore. This is Mr. Murat, the former clerk from Algeria, which they are banding around that the president has fired 3 clerks in 3 years. This is his letter of resignation, signed by him.
Okay.
And this is the president's letter to him, saying, I accept your separation request. It's in order to show you that there are lies being out there.
Okay.
Mr. Madasa was clerk in 2015 when I came in here. His contract expired. The president didn't renew it. Okay? Murat resigned and says for personal reasons, health reasons. His mother died. His wife said he couldn't stay in South Africa. She was too observant, Muslim observant. She wouldn't even go out of her house and doesn't want anybody to touch her child. And Murat had to be running to take him to school and whatever. There was too much. Maybe there are other reasons. But Murat himself didn't say, I am fired or I have been harassed. He said, I am resigning for personal reasons, and took up a job in Algeria. So how many clerks now? You have Madasa. Murat resigns. Where is the other one that was fired? The other 2. I have been here those 3 years as acting clerk. Who are the other 3? The other 2 to make it 3 that have been fired. This clerk is on probation and termination of probation. Let the law take its course. If it is wrong, let it be corrected. If it is right, let it be corrected. If he comes in here tomorrow back in his job as a clerk, I will still work with him the way I was working with him.
Perhaps I should ask this. The 1 year of probation, again for clarity, can the president decide that it can be shorter? Can he shorten it?
Yes.
Or is it mandatory?
No, yes. Probation, you can shorten or extend. If the person performs exemplarily.
So in this case, the president felt that he didn't want to confirm even after the year.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Probation, I have been confirmed at the United Nations IQ.
You're not at liberty to tell us why it is, or at least you're not privy to information as to why it is that he felt he didn't want to extend.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have been confirmed at the International Civil Aviation in my post within 6 months. And my probation was 1 year. So it can happen. If the person in assessing you feels that within 3 months, this is my guy, he's flyer, he can confirm straight away. But he has up to 1 year. Now, after that 1 year, he has to either confirm, extend, or terminate. The president chose to extend. He didn't terminate him. The records are here. The correspondence is here. All the letters is here. And he admitted, the clerk admitted in his email that he received the extension of his probation but rejected it. And I'm on statement to tell you that.
But to your knowledge, if the president felt that the clerk was not performing after a year, should he not have terminated him at that point instead of extending his probation?
You see, again, for humanitarian reasons and the fact that we are Africans, this job, I told you, is very tough. It's difficult. So 1 year, maybe for other jobs, you can assess the person. For the clerk post, you need maybe more than 1 year if you are a newcomer, because there's a lot to learn before you can feel your feet. Okay? But it is the prerogative of the person that assesses you to say that this 1 year was enough to satisfy me, and I am not going that way. I am stopping you right here. Or say, well, 1 year he did something. Maybe he passed 70%, maybe 60%. I need another 6 months to see whether he will cross the line. And if he does, then so be it. You know, the director of bureau, just to quote you, he's extraordinary worker, exceptional professional. He came with the president here as a political appointee, as director of bureau. The president's mandate has ended. He has another mandate now, a new mandate. But he said, I'm considering whether I will still keep my team or not. She's been giving a notice to prepare herself in case the president doesn't want to extend her probation. In 3 months, she has to pack up. And she has not written to anybody to fight or do. And she's from the president's country. For God's sake, she should have been up in arms. No, I am from your country. You win again. We have to be here. No, she's doing her job professionally and staying in her office. You understand? If the president decides after the 3 months, oh, I think I can't find somebody to replace you, he can keep her. Or say, I have found somebody, thank you for your service, bye-bye. That is a political appointee. A regular appointee gets an AU contract. And the AU contract, you become now an AU regular staff after your probation. For the clerk, the probation ended, he wasn't confirmed. He was extended. He refused it. And this is now where the saga is, what is resulted. Who is right or wrong, I can't say.
But this was my question, to say, I mean, if it is the AU rules that he is a staff member and not a political appointee, and he gets to a year of probation, and he is neither confirmed, or rather he's not confirmed, instead his probation is extended.
It's allowed in the
rules. Is that not the role of the AU?
No, because if he is assessed by the president, AU, what can AU say about his performance? The people in Addis, what can they say the clerk has been doing or not doing? They can't. It's the president that assesses him. And at the end of your probation, if the probation is unsuccessful or is not satisfied, he could stop you there. He could have been stopped in April by the president and nothing will come out of it. But he extended him for 6 months. And this extension was even after, because he was not here, so he hasn't. It was after he got the mandate of presidency, which means he knew that he didn't need even to politic or to campaign. He extended him after he became president. So for people to say it's vindictive, I have my question mark, because a vindictive person that thought that you are a threat or a problem or something, the moment that president was appointed, the next day in the morning, he would have fired this clerk. Next day, because there was no campaigning anymore. He's won. Maybe you could say, before he could be careful. If I do it, maybe his country or his people who support him might not vote for me. But he got voted and he's the president. But he didn't fire him. He gave him 6 months to work again, to continue to build their relation and get it right. And to me, he's within that purview. He's within that purview. The lawyers can correct me, but probation is probation. He is not reporting to the AU. The clerk doesn't report to the AU. The clerk cannot be assessed by the AU. It is the president that have been since the inception of this parliament that assesses his clerk and satisfies or is not satisfied.
Now Cameroon is going to elections in October?
Yes.
What happened to the position of president then?
I, as the Deputy Clerk, Finance, Admin and HR, have absolutely no clue. I didn't even know.
You're not privy to the rules in that instance?
No, not because I've never faced it anyway. I faced MPs, because when the MPs, they go to election, they lose, they're out. Okay? I'm assuming that if he loses, he's out. Definitely. But that during the time...
No. We're not talking about losing or winning. We're talking about going to elections. I mean, the Parliament of Cameroon will be dissolved.
Yes.
You know,
and they go to election.
He will cease to be a member of Parliament in Cameroon.
Okay. So
what do the rules say?
To be honest, I cannot tell you that one. But I can refer you to the legislative people. They will be able to guide you and open the rule book and tell you
what the rule says. Wow. But or the vice presidency.
The first vice president.
Who will sit in?
Yes.
He says the director knows better than me.
No. I hear you about the first vice president sitting in. What happens to the membership of the president when his country goes to elections?
That one is beyond my knowledge. I'm sorry. But I know that there might be something in the rules to say what happens to him. But I have never inquired, and I'm not even sure I know that he will have to vacate his post.
It is the understanding.
It is the understanding
of the rules of members of the rules committee.
Okay. The rules committee is there.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
It is the understanding of members of the rules committee that when a president or when a member of the Pan-African Parliament's country goes to elections, when their parliament is dissolved, and when their membership of their home country parliament is dissolved to go to elections, their membership of PAP also ceases until either they come back, and even when they come back, they'll have to be re-sworn in.
Okay. I can help you on one thing. This rule that you are quoting, from what I know, is not a hard and fast rule. And I tell you why. Some countries, until the new members of parliament are sworn in, the PAP members are members.
Okay.
It's in their constitution. Right? In some countries, or most countries, they cease. But there are some countries that have constitutions. Until they send you, in fact, here in PAP, we don't even know. When they go to elections, we don't, until they write to us, the speaker writes to say, I have, these people are no longer members of parliament. You have to leave the old member there until you get a letter from the speaker. That is why sometimes it has been a problem here. Some members come and, no, why are you here? Well, who is the new one? Have you got anything? No. Then they start fighting. But those are all technical legislative matters and rule matters. Maybe I think they will look again in all these rules. There's a lot of anomaly even in some of the rules, like this rotation thing, which under normal circumstances should have been region, not a repetition. But I am not the one who voted or who made the rules. The parliamentarians who made the rules allowed that to happen. So they can correct it going forward. So all I can say is, whatever is in the rules, if it is that he has to vacate his post, he will vacate. If it is that he has to cease to be and come back and be sworn in, that's what's going to happen. What the rule exists as it is. If you might know better, or ask the legislative people and they can guide you further on that. But I'm hearing that from you for the first time, that he, as a president, would have to vacate his post as soon as they dissolve the parliament. Yeah.
But I mean, as a clerk for finance, would it not have implications for the work that you do and how you pay the president if that had to happen?
Okay. Let me also help you and help the audience on that one as well. And this is making me late to pick my kids from school, but it's worth it. Pan-African Parliament does not pay salary to any bureau member. In fact, Pan-African Parliament did not even used to give stipend to the bureau members. It was in 2016 when I came in that they start getting allowances here and there. And I had to fight at the PRC even for that, because the PRC said, no, the countries are paying them, they're giving them allowances. But I said, look, if you are expecting African members.
But we're not just talking about the president as a bureau member. We're talking about the people that he has appointed that are political appointees, like ma'am here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the sense of what?
You're saying that it doesn't have anything to do with salaries.
No. If the president leaves, he has to leave, or all his political appointees leave.
But that's the question that I was asking you.
Yes, I didn't understand your question. If the president leaves, anybody who's a political appointment, that very day you are gone. Your services are terminated and your benefits paid. Yeah, so if there's a gap or whatever and he comes again and be sworn in, then he can reinstate or whatever. But during that period, if he stopped, they stop.
Thank you. Are you happy?
The school closed and my kids. Okay, do it quickly.
No, you just
All
want
right,
sorry, I thought you.
I'm going to be quick. You
Yes.
can just continue with the conversation. The two of you can be about anything off the record.
Yeah.
Yes. By the way, anyway, I'm happy that
you got to get some little bit of things from me.
Right.
And I'm telling you, all the things that I am stating to you, I have documentary evidence and proof for it to give it to you, to look at, or auditors, or whoever you send here, to validate it. Our systems are now electronic, integrated, SAP. They can click and get the reports. What are the trips, where, who, what we paid. They can click Impress Outstanding, the names, and I'm sure you'll find my name there. But I'm saying that we are not hiding any things that are non-facts. We are not prompting anybody, including the president, to embezzle the institution. In fact, there's nothing to embezzle in PAP. Nkodo can do wrongs or errors or whatever out there. It's not we can judge on that. But Nkodo has faced stiff resistance here from his own staff and administration to guide with him, to make sure he goes through the process. I give you an example of his accommodation. He was angry because he was having so much trouble with his accommodation. But when he came and said, "Clerk, I want you to sign this," I said, "No, sir, I'm not doing this. This has to go to the bureau." He said, "Is it?" I said, "Yes. Go to the bureau, get endorsed." He came, bureau, he were in the bureau. The bureau has approved. I said, "Sir, with all due respect, for safety, for tomorrow, let's ask the AU endorsement from the deputy chairperson." And we got it. Those are the people we deal with. So how is it that Nkodo, what kind of money can he get from here? I don't sign a loan, so I cannot give him money if they say I'm his boy. Where is Nkodo getting money from PAP that he does not deserve? The allowance he gets now is $2,000. $1,000 is for communication and $1,500 for what do we call it? Indemnity or something. That is the president of PAP's salary, if you want to call it salary. $2,500 for the job he is doing with all the media and all the things. $2,500. That's what he gets from PAP. I don't know from the others, and maybe the travels. But who want to travel these days with all the headaches and problems and terrorists? You want to stay at home and relax. This is my view.
Thank you.